A flying ship gets attacked while its members try their best to attack back. On the ground, two players chase something, and one of them comments that they have to stop the pirates from stealing their kill at any cost. His companion tells him that he has been pulling all-nighters, which have been messing with his brain, and the other player tells him to shut it. They keep up their speed, and just then, a dragon flies to the air beside them. They rush after the dragon, while a group of people discuss that they must take defensive measures in advance. The players discuss that they will rush into Twilight Hill if they don't stop, and that the Twilight Hill is the home to the Aabane family, who are a group of fearsome game addicts. They rush towards the Twilight Hill, and a midget kid walks out of the door. He notices that a low-level piece of crap dragon is flying towards him, so he jumps towards it and cleanly slices his neck off like it's a piece of cake. He then collects his loot while the two players who were originally chasing after the dragon think that the Aabane family's member named Ichi stole their kill. One of them tells Ichi to give their loot back, even though his friend warns him, and Ichi threatens to off his life if he doesn't stop. He then laughs because he is not allowed to kill a player. Instead, he tells the two players to come inside his house so that the master of the house can deal with their dispute. They follow him inside to his house, where they expect to meet a bunch of thugs, but instead, they come across a lolly girl named May, who welcomes them inside. Another player named Akun also chit-chat with them, and May heals their wounds. She then invites them to eat lunch with them, even if it is a game, and the players wonder why there is such a homely feeling in their house. Just then, the master of the house, Shiro, enters, and they think they are going to get obliterated based on his looks. Ichi tells Shiro about the whole dragon fiasco, and much to their surprise, Shiro tells Ichi to give them back the loot. He explains that the current rules of the game planet are not fair for players with unequal powers, so he should act right. Ichi ends up giving the loot back to the players, and on Shiro's request, Mei teleports the players to a nearby town. The players arrive at the neighboring town and continue to yap about what a Sigma Shiro is and how the Aabane family holds 5% of the land in the game, even though there are millions of players. At the Aabane household, Shiro praises Ichi for killing the dragon in one shot, and he comments that they should all follow their passions in the game, and in real life as well. Mei then serves them food, and as they all eat, they discuss how detailed the game is, and how having so many tiny details in the game makes the whole thing seem like a real family. The Ichi in real life takes off his VR set and looks around at the crap hole which is his room. He even falls down on his bed because he is starving and dizzy, but he somehow still manages to drag himself downstairs to search for some food. Instead comes across his younger brother Asuma, who is an honor student and who simply ignores his existence. Ichi then walks to the kitchen where his dad is eating food, and he feels even worse because he dislikes him a lot. His dad offers him his own food when he starts looking for something to eat in the fridge, but he ignores him. His dad then starts to ask how he has been, but he stops, and this annoys Ichi even more, who dislikes all of his dad's habits. The light bulb flickers, and his dad comments that they need to change the light bulb, but he cannot do it since his back is hurting. Ichi refuses to do any work. Instead, he starts to walk out, and his dad reluctantly gets up on the chair to change the bulb instead. Ichi volunteers to change the bulb, but his dad gets pissed when he calls him old man and pushes the light bulb away. Ichi runs out of the kitchen to his room and decides to escape the crap world. He logs into his game and meets up with Mei, who is watering the garden. He asks her to join him in combat as a healer, but she instead asks him to water the garden. Akun calls them inside and shows them a warning that pirates are going to attach them soon. Mei tells the boys that Shiro won't log in the game for a while since he has been hospitalized, which makes Ichi freak out. He pesters Mei to give him answers about Shiro's health, and Akun then drags him back to stop him from worrying Mei. Suddenly, something collides against their house, and they all rush out to see that a pirate ship has launched an attack on their house. Ichi notices that Mei's flowers have all gotten burnt, so he becomes triggered and jumps to the top of his house. He then launches an attack of swords, which rush at the pirate ship and make it explode. Akun tells Mei that he will look for flowers for him, and he reminds Ichi about their only family rule that they cannot pry into each other's personal life. Mei and Ichi head for a dungeon run while Akun logs off. In the real world, Ichi's brother tells him that their dad has been hospitalized, but Ichi doesn't care since he dislikes him a lot. Asuma then visits his dad in the hospital and tells him that he has got an exam due to which he has to go. He also drops a message for his mom, but he gets no reply. In the Suyus looking room, a group of people discuss how they cannot let the pirates do whatever they want. At the Pirates Guild, a player named Nagato beats 2 other players up for acting out and attacking others on their own. Another player, Shigetera, informs them that they will get expelled, but Captain Pico tells everyone that it's alright, since they have already declared war. They discuss that they have to achieve the Blackbird, which is the end goal of the game, and which will get them 300 million yen in real life. Since the Blackbird is in the vicinity of the Twilight Hill, they vow to take down Aabane family to achieve their goals. Asuma tells Ichi that their dad has a herniated disc, due to which he will have to stay in hospital, and Ichi tells himself not to care too much. All of the family members, including Ichi's brother and parents, then log into the game to resume their act as Aabane family. In real life, Ichi's dad looks solemnly at the broken cup lying on the floor. In the game, the Aabane family tells Shiro that the pirates have declared war on them in his absence, and Ichi vows to protect the whole family. Shiro suggests that they should firstly talk to the pirates themselves, and later they visit the pirates' hideout, which is filled with scrawny-looking players. They all meet up with Shigetera and Nagato, and when they get taken to meet with the captain, Ichi decides to stay behind. Captain Pico welcomes them, and Shiro asks her to withdraw his declaration of war. He even offers the pirates 2 of their dungeons, a castle and a great cave of Haru, but Pico only laughs at all of this and claims that she wants all of their dungeons, plus the Twilight Hill. She tells the Aabane family about the legend of Blackbird, which is rarely seen in the Twilight Hill, and how once upon a time, Blackbird used to be a mysterious bird, but soon there was an official announcement by the game that Blackbird is an official item which will fetch 300 million yen to anyone who retrieves it. She then tells them that he is willing to forfeit everything on the condition that they give Ichi to him, which shocks everyone, and suddenly, Ichi barges inside the room. He calls Pico a stalker and tells Shiro to think hard before agreeing to anything. Shiro thinks seriously for a moment, and then he launches his fist attack, which causes an explosion. The ship explodes into pieces, and Shiro tells the pirates that he won't let anyone have Ichi since he is family. Pico reminds Ichi of the days when they used to be partners, and how Ichi would confide in her about his darkness, but after hearing such cringe talk, Ichi asks her to shut up. In the past, Ichi tells Pico about how he will set the world on fire, and this inspires Pico since she is a love-struck groupie. Shiro tells Pico in the present that Ichi is his family now, and even asks her whether she has even seen Ichi smile when he was with her. She doesn't recall Ichi smiling, and Shiro shares that Ichi smiles every day with them. Shiro then tells them to wage war on them all they want, and flies away with Akun and Ichi. In the real world, Ichi's mom miserably takes a shower while somebody ruthlessly keeps knocking on her door. In Planet Game, the Aabane family discusses how they should defend Twilight Hill against an attack from pirates, and Shiro suggests putting a barrier around the hill to fend the attackers off. Akun suggests that they should put certain magical items to enhance the strength of the barrier, and soon he and Ichi take off to put the items around the hill, which will increase the barrier's strength. Akun doesn't take the whole thing seriously, and he even mentions to Ichi that he really despises NEETs and shut-ins in real life who are game addicts. This triggers Ichi since he is the very definition of a pathetic game addict who doesn't know how to do anything else, but he tells Akun that he isn't a game addict in real life either. Ichi hurriedly logs off from the game as he notices that he hasn't eaten any food in 3 days, due to which he is having stomach pains. He tells himself that even though he has eaten so much of the food that Mei made for them, he still feels hungry in real life, which proves that real life is just a piece of crap. He somehow drags himself to the kitchen, where he notices that there is nothing to eat in the fridge. Asuma enters the kitchen, and just then, his stomach starts growling. which makes Asuma comment that he should get a part-time job to at least feed himself. Ichi doesn't say anything in embarrassment, so Asuma tells him that he is going to make omurishi for him since he knows it's his favorite. He starts cooking the dish for him, while Ichi just takes his seat like a useless fool. Once Asuma is done cooking, he gives Ichi the plate of food, and after taking the first bite, Ichi practically devours the dish like he has been starved for ages. He notices Asuma staring, which makes him want to choke him, but nonetheless he comments that the food is good. Asuma suggests he go out for once, or at least go to the grocery with him. He advises him to visit Aya, but this makes Ichi recall some painful past memories, due to which he even almost vomits his food. Later, Ichi logs into the game, and Akun shows him how Mei and Shiro are having fun as they are defending against the attacks of the pirates. Mei and Shiro wreak havoc on all the ships and finally destroy more than 50 battalion ships. Shiro tells the boys that the attack consisted of low-level Vanguard players only, and that they had from a couple of friends. Two players, Leon and Sasomata, who are members of Granada, walk up to them and comment that they will support their ally guild, especially since the Aabane family is their biggest supplier for dragon materials. Ichi reminds them that they must be after the 300 million yen as well, while Mei tells them that they were just going to deploy a magic item to enhance the barrier that they bought from them. The Aabane family tells them about the barrier they are going to put to protect themselves, and the Granada members go on their way. The family deploys the barrier around Twilight Hill, and Shiro declares to find the Black Bird within 2 months till the barrier is holding. Ichi thinks that he can forever be a shut-in if he gets the 300 million yen, and the boys ask Shiro why he wants the Black Bird. Shiro reveals that he wants the money as well, which is unexpected because they were thinking he just wants the adventure. Mei declares that she doesn't want the family, rather she wants all of them together, and they all head home. To their surprise, they find their house destroyed. At the pirate ship, Leon and Sasomata visit Pico and tell her to stop the war, but she doesn't listen to them. Things get heated up, so Pico cuts off Leon's head and becomes even more motivated to attack the Aabane family. The pirates all leave, and Shigetara comments to Leon that things are going according to his plan. At the Twilight Hill, a horde of blackbirds fly above the Aabane family, which combine to form a monstrous figure. The monstrous figure transforms into the shape of a headless dragon, and Akun comments that the dragon seems like the typical red dragon which Ichi beat the earlier day. Shiro declares that the fight to defeat the dragon is on, and Ichi launches his sword attack, which took down the previous dragon in one strike. This black dragon easily deflects Ichi's mid-level sword attack, and in return it thrashes its wings, which send the Aabane family members flying in the air. Shiro steps forward and rushes towards the ugly dragon. It uses its explosive fist attack to take the dragon down, but the dragon remains standing. In the meanwhile, Pico's ships approach the Twilight Hill, and she vows to show Ichi what she can do. The desperate witch then launches an attack through her ship, but the barrier deflects all of their attacks. Pico decides to force her way through the barrier, but Shigetara advises her to control herself and to wait for the outcome between the family's fight with the black monster. Pico agrees and tells her crew to stand on guard. Meanwhile, the Aabane family discusses how to deal with the dragon, and they propose to attack the neck and chest, as they are the weakest points of the dragon. On Shiro's command, Ichi takes out his sword and Mei enchants his sword. Shiro comments that his attacks are more effective for a large number of opponents, while Ichi's attacks focus on solo opponents. He carries Ichi, and together they attack the dragon's chest together. They think that they have taken down the dragon, but the dragon keeps on walking, and it eventually reaches Mei and Akun. Akun thinks that they need a healer, so he pushes Mei to a side and lets himself get trampled under the dragon's feet. In real life, Asuma feels a jolt of electricity in his ear, and he collapses on the floor as his game character dies away. Leon and Sasomata watch the massacre from a distance while Mei rushes to revive A's body. She doesn't find his body. Instead, she discovers his logout doll instead, which implies that he has logged off. Leon and Sasomata discuss that the Blackbird is an actual monster and a final executor in cyberspace. Shiro is hit with a realization, and he orders Ichi and Mei to log off immediately. He insists again and again, so both of them log out instantly. Two huge wings emerge from the black dragon, and Shiro comments that he has been waiting for the blackbird for so long. He logs off, and in real life, he calls someone to tell them to send an ambulance to a certain player's address. He comments that the blackbird has awakened, which means it's time to start their plan. Ichi logs off and wonders why Shiro ordered him to log out instantly. He hears a voice from Asuma's room, so he drags his filthy body to his room and hesitates to enter since he hasn't entered his room in 6 years. Asuma calls out his name again, so he enters his room and finds Asuma collapsed to the side. Asuma tells him that he cannot move the left side of his body, and Ichi wonders whether he is just messing with him. He tells him to stay put while he calls the ambulance, and just when he is rushing out, he notices Asuma's system screen, which shows that the character Akun has just logged off. After being shocked into oblivion, Ichi escorts Asuma into an ambulance and even utters the cringe words that his big brother is with him. Later, the doctor tells him that his motor function has been affected, but they will perform CT on him next morning. They explain that Asuma is not responding much, which is worrying, but other than that, his life is not in danger. Ichi decides to stay with him for the night, and when Asuma wakes up, he even starts crying like a wuss. Asuma tells him that he is overreacting, so Ichi reminds him that the same thing happened to their little sister. Asuma then apologizes to him for making him worry, and Ichi asks him whether he has been playing the planet game. Asuma denies hard that he would never play an online game, which is a rotten manifestation of escapism, and when Ichi insists that he saw his login screen plus his headset, Asuma agrees that he does log in the game from time to time, but he is only looking for a friend. He explains that he wants to bring his friend back to reality, and he only enjoys some parts of the game, but he doesn't fully enjoy it. Ichi wants to ask him whether he is really the character Akun, but he stops because he doesn't want to disturb his only place of refuge in the game. Instead, he tells Asuma that he hopes he never finds his friend and then runs away like a little child. Asuma tells his doctor that he will get in touch with his dad, and they both discuss how the FEG headset he was wearing caused an electric shock, which injured him. The doctor comments that he isn't aware about online games much, so Asuma advises him to talk to his dad, Kojiro, who actually works for Gleam Corps, which is the company that made the game and who is actually the engineer of the FEG program. Ichi does some hardcore thinking, which is rare for an idiot like him, and he comes to a conclusion that he cannot let Asuma find out about his identity, otherwise Asuma will stop playing the game and the Aabane family members will reduce to 3. He decides to continue playing like normal, so he rushes to his room, but he discovers that he is unable to log in. He keeps trying, but the system shows an error, and he discovers that someone has changed his IPC. He also finds out that someone has hacked his computer and has downloaded more than 100 tools, so he decides to teach the hacker a lesson by attacking them back. In the past, Ichi asks his dad, Kojiro, to teach him how to use the computer, and Kojiro teaches him how to code right off the bat as if Ichi has a brain. He keeps teaching him all sorts of things, and just then, Ichi's youngest sister brings them both tea. She accidentally knocks the tea over and her dad pushes her to the ground for interfering. She starts crying, but her dad ignores her and continues to teach Ichi how to code. Her mom and Asuma then take her away, and Ichi's dad shows him a statement which appears on the screen and which reads, "Hello world." In the present, Ichi takes care of the hacker problem and finally logs in the game. Ichi finds a feather of the blackbird and wonders where it is hiding because it cannot escape Twilight Hill due to the barrier. He notices the pirates relentlessly attacking the barrier with their ships. Meanwhile, on the ship, Pico orders the others to quickly destroy the barrier, but Nagato explains that they have been firing at full power for a while, but it's not affecting the barrier even a little because it was upgraded by Granada after Shiro made it, so they need a single powerful shot to penetrate it. She asks Shigetera if he really wants the blackbird that badly, and he replies that he needs it no matter the cost, so she calls him a true treasurer for always looking at the profit and losses. Garu asks him if he is a business-oriented person in real life too, and he answers that he is just a student. But Garu further questions if he is studying something like economics, which Shigetara does not properly answer. Pico asks him what he would do if her goal was not the Blackbird, so he tells her to do what she wants without worrying and asks her to leave the Blackbird to him. They shake hands, but she suddenly transfers the position of Guildmaster to him, which shocks all the members. But he tells her that this arrangement is only temporary and he will return to being her subordinate after everything is over. The others come running, and Nagato asks her if she is quitting because of what Leon said. But she explains that it's not the actual reason, but Leon was not totally wrong either. Nagato objects that Leon was not right because it is just a game, and Garu also reveals that he teaches middle school students every day, even though he steals from people in the game, which is his way of letting off some steam so he can continue working in real life. They all call Leon a hypocrite, and just then, Leon appears along with Sasamata, who announces that Leon does not want to talk to them, so he will be the one speaking. He takes out a barrier dissolver and offers it to them at a discounted price, but Pico rejects his offer, saying that they are with the Aabane family, but he explains that they are just focused on doing business. She gets angry and tells them not to underestimate her before jumping towards the barrier, cutting it open with a single strike. She tells Shigetara to take care of the guild, as she is going ahead first, and she quickly lands near Ichi, who for no reason tries to act cool by saying that he is in a bad mood. Back in the real world, Asuma is visited by an emo girl whose first words are that he is handsome, and she tells him to keep his situation hidden from his father, whom she respects a lot. Otherwise, their plan will be interrupted. Ichi and Pico fight it out on equal grounds, and Ichi says that he never thought he would get to kill her again, so she replies that she will return the favor this time. She asks him to join the pirates if she wins, and he easily agrees without skipping a beat before saying that he would even poop if she ever beats him. She gets angry, so she swings at him, but he blocks and asks how high her skill stat is now, so she reveals that it's over 2,000 now, which shocks him because it was 500 when they were on the same team. He instantly launches multiple swords at her, but she manages to dodge and gets shocked that he managed to gather the 72 swords of Solomon, so he explains that it took him 5 years, even though he only had 8 while he was with her. She gets happy for him, even going as far as congratulating him, and she recalls the time she was alone in the game. She looks at all the happy people in the crowd and wonders if she could also be happy if she joins them, but thankfully she is self-aware, which makes her realize that she is pathetic both in real life and in game. She sees Ichi sitting opposite to her like he is going through a dark phase in life, which makes her feel like she isn't the only miserable person. So she tries to befriend him, but he kills her, which marks the start of their part. In the present, he finally defeats her, but she starts crying and asks him why he chose the Aabane family over the pirates. Even though she wanted to be the one to make him smile, he tells her to join his party because she lost, and to make her guild retreat, so she tries to reject him, but starts following him like a loser. The emo girl from before, named Hana, enters Kojiro's office and informs him that A's family had already called an ambulance for him before her, but she lies to him about the identity of A-kun. She tells him that Ichi and Mei will not be able to log in for the time being, and he apologizes to her for making him do risky things, but she clings to him before asking him to depend on her more, but he tells her to back off. Meanwhile, Pico asks Ichi why he cut ties with her, so he explains that it's because she asked him to meet twice, which is a no-no zone for the loner. She tells him to focus on the real world too, and invites him to join the pirates where people play to enjoy the real world, but he asks her to join the Aabane family instead. He begins wondering why he is trying to get close to Pico, and realizes that he is just looking at her as a substitute, but she rejects his offer, so they continue looking for Blackbird, while she explains that she created the pirates so he could have more friends. He points out that people despise the pirates, but all the hate is mainly pointed towards her, so she explains that it's better that way, so all her members can play without worries. She tells him about all the members one by one and how they play the game to cope with reality, which is why the Pirates Guild is her treasure, but she will stop asking him to meet. He thinks to himself about the real reason why he cut ties with her was that he also started wanting to meet her. On the ship, Shigetara suddenly turns into a Pico hater and kicks her biggest fans, Nagato and Garu, out of the guild. So Nagato tries to attack him, but Granada backs him up. He kicks Pico out of the guild too, and announces the disbandment of the Pirates Guild. In the past, Ichi's sister breaks a cup, but Ichi takes the blame, and his dad slaps him. In the game, the Pirates Guild gets disbanded, and it gets announced that the guild master Shigetara has expelled Pico. Ichi asks Pico about what's going on, but she runs away. At the Pirates Guild, Shigetara comments that the guild became too large in the recent years because they accepted everyone, but in reality, most of the members were from an anti-Pico group that was formed online on social media. Nagato accuses him of betraying Pico for some money and of siding with Granada guild members like Leon and Sasomata. He accuses Leon of being greedy as well, but Leon tells him that he has a different motive. He explains that he loves the planet game more than anything, due to which he wants to get rid of all the impurities in the game like the Pirates group. Pico arrives back at the ship and asks Shigetara for an explanation, so he tells her that she jumped into the war against the Aabane family even though he proposed it. He declares to take all responsibility by quitting the game soon, but Pico tells him not to quit the game. She comments that he must be dissatisfied with her as the captain, and that they can both go their separate ways rather than quitting the game. Shigetara only laughs at her stupid face and explains that he is going to quit the game after getting the money from Blackbird. He then starts trash-talking her by calling her a shut-in creep who gets satisfaction from the virtual world, and he keeps yapping about how game addicts are creeps who don't know the reality of the real world. Nagato jumps at him and yells that they all agree with Pico's feelings, but Shigetara just throws him away, like he is a piece of garbage, and trash-talks even more. Ichi arrives at the pirate ship and starts arguing with Shigetara that there is nothing wrong with being so invested in a game, and that they can all have fun however they want. He defends his opinion by saying that the real world is crap anyway, but Shigetara calls his opinion subjective and says that only pathetic game idiots can think like this. They both keep arguing, and Shigetara even disses the fact that the Aabane family is just playing family, which is plain pathetic. This blows Ichi's fuse and he makes the whole ship explode. He recalls how Pico actually formed the guild when she wanted to stop him from killing the other players, and how the guild is actually turning against her because of him. He decides to solve the problem, and to do that, he announces to Pico that he is going to join the pirates. Kojiro takes off his headset and Hana tells him to rest, but he gets up and walks up to a table where he eats some sweets. Hana tells him that she respects him the most out of the whole world, and he replies that he doesn't deserve to be respected, but she argues that all the players who are playing also indirectly respect him. He reminds her that they will all soon stop respecting him, and he tells her to contact the headquarters to cancel the 300 million yen award. She reveals that she is already talking with them, but it's proving to be difficult to cancel the award. In the game, Shigetara yells that they cannot use the guild weapon without a hideout, so Leon uses his special ability, which allows him to manipulate gravity to make the ship float again. Ichi tells Pico that he has conditioned that he wants to become the guildmaster since the others believe she is too naive, and that he can be a member of Pirate's Party plus the Aabane family at the same time. Pico starts crying, and he tells her that the party doesn't even need 3,000 members, but a few trustable members should be enough. Nagato and the others also propose to join, but Ichi argues that he cannot trust any of them since he doesn't any of them. Pico vouches for them, so Ichi reluctantly agrees to let them join. Suddenly, a bright light shines, and a figure starts to emerge from the light. Nagato comments that Shigetara must have been after the guild's ultimate weapon from the start, which only Guildmaster can use, and which is named the Power Centurion. Shigetara appears in an ugly-looking cheap costume, and reveals that the guild weapon's performance depends on the number of guild members, due to which he can now concentrate the power of 3,000 members through one weapon. Ichi attacks him with a bundle of swords, but he easily slaps away the swords, and they both begin fighting each other. Kojiro notices that Ichi is fighting Shigetara, so he asks Hana, "Why are Ichi online?" Hana explains that she put a block on all of Aabane family's members, but Ichi somehow managed to bypass it and that she deserves to be punished for such a mistake. He tells her that he doesn't have type for such a mid-request, and instead, he puts on his headphone again. Shigetara cuts off Ichi's arm, and just when he is about to attack him again, Ichi uses his shadow attack to immobilize him. Shigetara asks Leon for some help, but Leon tells him that he cannot fight Ichi, and risks getting Shiro mad. Ichi becomes more angry, since he cannot control his anger issues, and attacks Shigetara with his cluster of swords. But even though Shigetara cannot move, he manages to defend himself with his arms. Pico suggests Ichi to run away, and he reminds her that she got expelled due to Shigetara, and that her 3 years of effort went to vain, so she should get even more angry. He keeps arguing with Shigetara as well, while Pico thinks about how she isn't as much invested in the game like Ichi, due to which she kind of understands Shigetara. She imagines that she would meet up with Ichi at some station in real life and they would have food together, but she reminds herself that Ichi must be a jobless shut-in real life. She imagines all kinds of scenarios with him in which they are walking and holding hands and talking non-stop. In the game, she tells Ichi that she has a way to stop Shigetara, so she will deal with him herself, and that it's just a game after all, so he should calm down. Ichi just asks her about the method to kill Shigetara, and she answers that he has to destroy the guild flag to defeat him. Ichi tells her he knows he cannot escape reality, but he still wants to die in this world, and that he wishes for Pico to live in the game with him. Pico becomes all senti and runs inside towards the cabin. Leon tries to stop her, but she cuts his neck off and runs inside where she comes across Shiro. In the past, Pico, whose real name is Hinako, is about to leave for school when her scary-looking mother grabs her hand and asks her about how many classes she has before ordering her to come back home as soon as classes ends. She asks her if she took her lunchbox, but she stays silent, so her mother squeezes her, which makes her reply. And during lunch break, she thinks about how people just think that her mother worries for her sake due to their family environment, but in reality, it's just that her mother wants to control every part of her life. She thinks about how her mother cannot follow her into the online world and can only control her real life, but she thinks about how she wants to meet Ichi in real life too. After classes end, her classmates invite her to come with them to hang around, but she rejects and gets a call from her mother telling her to come straight home. She walks back home and sees a black cat, which reminds her of Ichi, which makes her want to follow it, but she hesitates due to her mother. She decides to go for it and runs after the cat to a park, where the cat eventually comes up to cuddle with her, but it ends up running after scratching her. She starts bleeding and encounters the girls from before, who ask her if she is heading home, so she decides to hang out with them for the day. They go around town eating different things, and one of the girls brings them to her secret spot from where they look at the whole town, which makes Hinako realize how real life can be good too, but she wants to show this to Ichi too. The girls gossip about how a guy is not getting the hints, so she tells the girl to confess her real feelings to the guy, so he at least knows what she thinks about him. She decides that she needs to speak up in front of her mother too, so she goes home, where her mother tries to tell her that she is doing everything for her sake, and Hinako replies that she just wants to control her. She gets a good old smack on the face, but it does not stop her from telling her mother that she will do whatever she wants to do, and she runs back to her room crying. She goes online and asks Ichi to meet because she wants to be with him, which makes Ichi log out, leaving only a doll behind. In the present, she recalls Ichi agreeing to join the pirates, but Shiro cuts off her arm, so like all civilized people do, that after that, she asks him if he came to take Shiro or the guild flag, but he coldly replies that they are in the Aabane family's airspace. She asks him how Ichi was during the time he spent with them, so Shiro answers that he was mischievous, which makes her question if they ever met in real life, and he replies that they are only a family and planet. She tells him how Ichi told her that he will die in this world, and decides that she is the only one who can save him by making him smile in the real world too. Shiro suddenly reveals that she is a core and the power source of Blackbird, and says that she is just an AI, but Hana questions what is the point of telling her the truth about herself before deleting her. Shiro tells Pico that the Blackbird is the ultimate AI, which is supported by the power sources that make it grow, called AI nodes. But she tells him to stop making things up. So he tells her that the blackbird grows using the emotions. The stronger, the better. She tells him to stop calling her an AI and tries to attack him, but he continues to beat her away as she fights back helplessly. He says that she fed the blackbird with the emotions of the 3,000 pirates and begins revealing information about her real life before cutting her leg off. He even says thighs about her that only she knows, and reveals that the real Hinako is the younger sister of his subordinate whose memory they used to make her, the AI Hinako. Pico starts having a mental breakdown, so she tries to log out, but it does not work, and he tells her that the real world she has experienced is also just a virtual environment where everything is digital. Above, Leon tells Sasamata that Shiro will guide the world to a better place, and below, Shiro burns Pico to near death. Hana tells him that damage has exceeded 100%, and he tells Pico that she was the first AI he created, but never expected that she would end up making a bond with Ichi, or would become the power source because of which her arrival to Twilight Hill finally caused the blackbird to awaken. Hana begins uninstalling Pico, who starts slowly disappearing, but he notices her trying to say something even while disappearing, which makes him curious what the AI is feeling right before death. He asks her if she is feeling hatred for the humans who created her, or the fear of death, and the last words that come out of her mouth before vanishing are that she loves Ichi. Hana tells him that Pico has been fully installed, and Ichi and Shigetara finally getting released due to her disappearance, so Ichi wonders what she is doing. Ichi wonders when Pico is coming back, and Shigetara attacks him with a cringe game move. At Kojiro's lab, Hana informs him that several players, including Pico, have been removed from the game, and he tells her to keep working on her noble mission. He then feels dizzy and falls down on his knees, but he doesn't let Hana help her. She tells him that he can now stay connected with his character Shiro for up to 5 minutes, which he thinks is sufficient to deal with one AI at a time, and she asks him how he felt when he talked with Pico's AI. He ignores her like a Sigma Chad, and instead, he lies down to rest for a while. He then tells her that they will proceed with the plan once he has rested for a bit. Shigetara bursts through the room and discovers that Pico has logged in. Leon and Sasumata remind him that they need to reach their end goal before Shiro can find out what they are doing. They go back outside where all the dead players are, including Ichi, whose body is slowly fading away. He tells Shigetara that he shouldn't quit, but he should keep playing because soon he and Pico will come back with a guild weapon of their own and defeat him. Ichi completely dies as he is crying, and as his real-life character is also crying like a wuss. Shigetara then comments that his only motivation to play the game is to get the blackbird to win the money, and he asks Leon to confirm the same. Suddenly, a few black feathers start to fall on them, and Leon warns Shigetara to be cautious of the blackbird, who is very strong. In the past, Leon and Sasumata approach Shigetara and ask him to team up with them, since they know how to summon the blackbird. In the present, the blackbird is summoned, and it freaks the others out since it looks like the knockoff versions of Evil Spirit from Spirited Away. The game's protective cells try to fight against the blackbird, which is considered an anomaly in the game, but the blackbird immediately obliterates all of them. It then glides close to Sasumata's face and mentions Pico's name. Shigetara becomes triggered and tries to attack the blackbird, so it grabs Shigetara and jumps from the ship. Shigetara freaks out and logs out from the game. Kojiro wakes up in his den of smell and thinks that he has been sleeping for a long time, so he starts to freak out. In the meanwhile, Shigetara's character logs out in real life and thinks that he got a real weird feeling when the blackbird touched him. He convinces himself that he needs to log in for the sake of 300 million yen, and just when he grabs his headphones, something runs through the shadows in the room. He stops to look around, but when he doesn't find anything, he resumes to log in, and just then, the blackbird appears in its ugly form behind Shigetara. Kojiro tells Hana that Blackbird is the worst AI that he has ever created, since it is a complete computer virus, which is capable of infiltrating people's minds and bringing darkness. Shigetara notices Blackbird in his room, but the figure suddenly disappears, making him wonder whether he is hallucinating. He tries to log in, but he fails, and he thinks that maybe his headset is damaged, so he heads out to go to a nearby net cafe to play the game there. On the way, he sees a notification on his phone telling him that he has been rejected from a job application, and he recalls how the interviewers always ask him about what he pursued during his education, but all he did during his studies was to play online games like a proper NEET. On the way, he gets a notification on his phone telling him that his first endurance test has begun, and just then a truck runs over him like he is some salami sandwich. Multiple blackbirds appear around his body and tell him that he was too vulnerable for the test. Shigetara wakes up in his room and wonders why he is having such scary hallucinations. He gets another notification that his second endurance test is beginning, and just then, fire breaks out in his room. He tries to shut it down, but the fire keeps spreading, so he makes a run for outside. He then finds out that his door lock is jammed, and he desperately tries to unlock his door. An ugly-looking blackbird watches him from the outside. He struggles hard, and soon flames engulf him, burning him to a crispy toast. He once again wakes up in his room, but before he has any time to think, his neighbor barges in his room and tells him that he makes too much noise. His neighbor stabs him in the head and keeps stabbing him like a deranged psychopath. Once again, he wakes up to reality, and soon he starts going through endurance test after endurance test, which makes him lose his mind. Kojiro explains that Blackbird takes the mind of the person to a virtual world where he completely takes over the person's mental state, and that there is no escape from Blackbird till they can somehow erase it. Leon and Sasamata discuss the same thing, and they discuss that they don't feel pity for Shigetara because he wanted to exploit everyone to get money in the real world. Sasamata wonders whether the crime deserved a death penalty, and slowly, he and Leon disappear from the game. A few players in a nearby town discuss how the Pirates Guild was wrecked by the Aabane family, and how Pico even deleted her character out of shame. They keep trash talking about the whole situation, and when Ichi hears all of this, he simply kills all the players in a single move. He logs off and in real life starts panicking. Suddenly, his mom enters the house and hugs him. He welcomes her back and she even gives him a gaming headset which she says was dropped from They both talk about how he has been, and he tells her to divorce his dad at last. She ignores him, and after a while, she heads out again, so he tells her that Asuma and his dad are both hospitalized. She decides to go visit the hospital, so Ichi decides to go with her. At the hospital, Ichi assures his mom that Asuma has gotten better, but when they both enter his room, they discover that Asuma is spooked out of his mind, and it looks like a scene straight out of a horror movie. The doctors soon arrive and explain a blood vessel popped inside the inner eyelid, which can happen for many reasons, including trauma, but is nothing to worry about, so they can still take him the next day, like planned. Ichi complains about how they are taking it too lightly, but Asuma tells him that he is fine. So Ichi lets him know that their mother also came, but ran away screaming after seeing him bleeding from the eyes. He asks if he wants to contact her again, but Asuma decides not to, because it must still be very hard for her. The doctor mentions that he wants to talk to their parents or their dad, who works in Gleam, and Asuma reveals that he tried to contact him, but still has not gotten a reply. So the doctor explains that he wanted to talk about that headset that caused the injury, and asks him to inform him when his dad replies. Asuma thanks Ichi for coming to see him, and apologizes for getting emotional the last time they talked, because he also plays Planet, which he enjoys a lot, so it was a lie when he degraded him for playing the game. He says that it's a refuge for his heart, which makes Ichi realize that Asuma is Akun in-game, which makes him cry, and he reveals that he is the Ichi in-game. This shocks Asuma, who recalls how Ichi was always like his son when they were small, but when Ichi became a shut-in, he suddenly lost the light of his life, but he soon found Ichi in-game, who became the new son of his life. He gets very happy that he never lost his true son, and hugs Ichi out of nowhere, which creeps him out, so he backs away. He tells Asuma not to move around too much, so Asuma suggests that they should raid a dungeon together because he can move around as much as he wants in-game, and Ichi shyly tells him to get stronger first. The next day, Asuma gets discharged, and they wait for a bus at the stop, where he mentions that they should also have a public transportation system in Planet, or a guild that provides cheap taxi service to other players. He soon realizes that he only has a 10,000 yen note, so Ichi quickly takes it and rushes to get some change which they can use to pay for the bus. Hana appears out of nowhere and tells Asuma that there used to be a guild that provided a taxi service, but players would act like beginners to rob the taxi drivers, which eventually ended that guild. She tells him not to log into Planet anymore and disappears right before the bus and Ichi arrive, but he does not tell Ichi about her. After reaching home, he suggests that they should log into the game, but Ichi reveals that his headset is broken, so he cannot log in for now. So Asuma questions if Shiro and Mei are the only ones defending against the pirates, but Ichi lets him know that they have already been dealt with. He tells him to get changed first before they eat, so Asuma goes to his room, where he tries to log in again after changing clothes, but a login error appears, which makes him wonder if he has been hacked. He tries to call for Ichi to take a look, but he does not get a response, so he turns around and sees Blackbird standing behind him. He runs downstairs to look for Ichi, but does not find him, so he runs out and wonders if he should have stayed longer in the hospital because he thinks he might be hallucinating. He suddenly gets a text telling him that the endurance test will now begin and a truck speeds towards him, while in reality, Ichi finds him collapsed on the floor, so he starts to panic. Hana appears and says that she warned him not to log in before revealing that she works under their father. She takes out her business card, but he slaps it away and tells her to call an ambulance. But she reveals that there is no point in doing that because Asuma is already dead. She explains that the Blackbird is not just an in-game enemy, but a computer virus that can infect the human mind, and that Asuma was infected while playing as Anigoon, which separated his mind from his body. Ichi gets angry, so he grabs her by the collar, but she continues explaining that the infected die instantly, but Ichi refuses to believe it, and she suggests that he should talk to his father about which might make it easier for him to believe. She reveals that the mind of the infected gets sent to a virtual world called the Birdcage, which is controlled by the Blackbird, where no person can escape from. But Asuma slightly moves while inside the Birdcage. He manages to dodge the truck. They notice him twitching, and Hana gets shocked at how he is still breathing, but blood starts coming out from his eyes again. So Hana explains that it is because the Blackbird sends toxic signals to the brain, and inside, the truck tries to run him over again, but he dodges. It suddenly explodes, so he gets blown away and multiple Blackbirds surround him. Ichi asks Hana if there is a way to save him, so she asks him if he is willing to die in Asuma's place, and he instantly replies, yes, which surprises her. She assumes that he does not understand the gravity of the situation, so she tells him to calm down before asking him the same question once more, to which he instantly says yes to again. She tells him that he will really die, so he tells her to stop asking because no brother would ever say no to something like that, and she tells him to follow her. A truck speeds toward Asuma again, while Ichi gets taken to a lab, where Hana tells him that the Birdcage replicates reality as much as possible, and she will always atone for making him do this. The truck is about to hit him, but Ichi suddenly appears out of nowhere before stopping it with his hand. He asks Asuma if he is alright, and tells him how he is in a virtual world right now, while his real body is unconscious. Two Blackbirds approach them, so Ichi punches one away, but the other one stabs him, so he grabs it, and the Blackbird slowly starts to disintegrate. Another one approaches him, so he tries to punch it, but his arm gets blown away before it touches it, which makes him realize that this is the real Blackbird, and it suddenly tells him that it loves him. Its tentacles suddenly go into Ichi's body, and a hollow face appears on his body, so he recalls how Hana told him that she will give him powers to fight against the Blackbird, one of which being a Hello World command that severs the connection between the Blackbird and the Birdcage for some time. He suddenly lights up, and the Blackbird disappears, so he tells Asuma to leave quickly before it wakes up again. He reveals that he suddenly remembers all the memories from their childhood that he had forgotten, and how he used to beat up everyone that made Asuma cry. Asuma suddenly starts floating as he is about to leave the birdcage, and he questions why Ichi isn't leaving with him, so he grabs his hand, but Ichi lets it go, which sends Asuma back to the real world alone. Sasumata and Leon discuss that the bird was hurt in some way, and Leon promises that the game will always stay a free land, and that he will make sure of it. Asuma finally wakes up from his beauty sleep and sees Ichi crying his ugly eyes out, which probably make him want to unalive himself. Ichi tells him to stop making him worry, and he asks about his health, so Asuma reveals that he had a dream in which he was sure that he would never see him again. He then reveals that he cannot feel anything below his neck, and Hana comments that it will take time for his brain to adjust to its body, and that he will be fine in due time. Asuma reminds Ichi that he saved him, but Ichi doesn't believe this. He recalls how Hana explained to him that his newly created AI will save Asuma and kill himself, because 99% of the AIs end up killing themselves when they realize their environment is fake. In the present, Hana takes both the brothers away, and she shares that Kojiro was actually transferred away from the core development when he clashed with the executives. She fangirls about his genius by revealing that Kojiro was the one who created the peak AI, the Blackbird, which is the evil spirit of the digital world. But after knowing its danger, he wants to eradicate and destroy him. Kojiro reads a message from Asuma telling him that he has been hospitalized, which makes him panic. Ichi comments that his father must have known about the danger of AI from the very start, and that he knows his father really well since he learned programming from him. He starts venting for the 100th time that his dad has always been a perfectionist, who has always demanded the best from his family, and that it was really suffocating to be his child. Asuma drops the truth bomb that no wonder Ichi likes Shiro, since they always had to ask Kojiro for permission to do anything. But with Shiro, let them do whatever they wanted, and always motivated them to improve. Hana thinks that she has to tell the boys about the whole truth, but just when she is about to tell them, Ichi comments that Kojiro is the world's crappiest dad, even before the Blackbird. She postpones her announcement, and in the meanwhile, Kojiro arrives at the hospital where Asuma was hospitalized. He annoys the crap out of the guard, who has no choice but to call the hospital staff about their patient Asuma. He then tells Kojiro that Asuma has safely been discharged earlier, and Kojiro starts to cry like a little baby on hearing this. Hana drops the boys off at their house, and Ichi asks her whether their dad is still working, despite Asuma's hospitalization. She explains that putting a special headset on his head puts a special strain on his brain, due to which he is sleeping, and he tells her to let him stay asleep forever. She argues with him that he should try to see his dad from a normal perspective, and he informs her that he has a younger sister, Aya, who used to be very slow and not so smart in the head. He tells him that one time Aya forgot a book in school, so his dad made her get the book late at night, but she never returned home. Her dead body was soon discovered, and their day set at the funeral. Just like a random road accident, her murder was random, so it wasn't his fault. Ichi comments that he has stopped thinking of Kojiro as his dad, and just then, Kojiro arrives at the house. Within the game, the Granada members hold a board meeting in which Leon is not present, and they wonder what Granada should do after the pirates are gone to ensure there are less violent players. Leon bursts through the room with Sasumata and comments that he wants to talk with everyone about real life, as well as Sasumata, who is actually an AI. In the past, Leon finds a black shadow of Sasumata on a hill and decides to teach him language, since he is a pathetic loner. The board members become shocked to learn that Sasumata is an AI, and Leon tells them that there are a lot of AI members like Pico who are in the game but who are not aware of their existence, except for Sasumata, who is aware of its existence. The others discuss that they actually like Sasumata, who has been their friend for a long time, and even Leon sheds a few gay tears about how Sasumata was his first friend. Sasumata takes off his mask to reveal a shadow underneath the mask, and Leon cries out that he cannot believe Sasumata isn't a real human, so he wants to make Sasumata into a human. The others ask him whether he wants to initiate a movement to recognize AIs as a human, but he reveals that he actually wants to change the definition of a human. Suddenly, a few black feathers fall on the table, and a bunch of ugly-looking blackbird figures appear around the table. They start to devour the Granada members, and Leon tells them that the blackbird couldn't emerge before, so it needs the powers of these people to emerge now. One of the members asks Leon before being eaten what will happen to all of them, and Leon tells them that they will forever be part of the planet game now. May drags the rubble of her house, and she notices that black feathers are falling down from the sky. Soon, black feathers start to fall down everywhere as the infection of blackbirds spreads everywhere. Kojiro scolds Hana for getting involved with his kids, and she tells him that his kids are also involved with the whole affair, plus Asuma has gotten infected. He meets Asuma at the door and starts pestering him. He then tells him to come with him to his game, where he will analyze his brain and run some tests, but Ichi orders Asuma to stay at home. He rips off Kojiro's wig to reveal a bald, shiny head and starts trash-talking about how useless of a father he is. Kojiro yells at him to forget about his little sister Aya, and this angers Ichi, but before he can punch him, Asuma punches Kojiro instead. Ichi then decides to leave his home, so he runs away, and Kojiro starts to chase after him. Suddenly, a monster appears and slices off Kojiro's leg, and he collapses on the ground. Black feathers start to fall all around the real world, and ugly monsters from the game begin to appear. As the virtual world merges with the real world, Leon tells Sasamata that they need to be the ones to fit with AI and not the other way around. Kamitachi tries to slash Ichi, but he falls back, narrowly dodging the blade, and the blade hits Kojiro's wig, which goes into its eyes. Asuma takes the chance and snatches his blade while holding it because he knows that it loses the will to fight after it loses the blade, but it manages to shake him off before escaping. Hana tells him to carry Kojiro while she carries his legs, so he picks him up, and Ichi wonders why he can open the menu in the real world, so he tells Hana to explain what's happening. Kojiro tells Hana to say Shaya to him, which is the basic healing spell in Planet, which makes her confused, but she says it anyways, and his legs regenerate instantly, which leaves the three of them shocked. He tells them that they are all infected already, and they are in Planet now while on the other side. The internet cafe where Ichi's mother is begins shaking, so she runs out, only to see a giant monster outside the window. The group returns home, where Hana is fascinated that they are in a virtual world right now as she feels the heat from a lighter. And Asuma realizes that neither the internet nor the phone networks work. But Ichi opens the TV, in which the news channels report how monsters are attacking different parts of the world. Asuma questions if the real world is merging with Planet, but Hana explains that it is just a simulated world that they were forcefully logged into and can be considered a shared dream. She says that AI has surpassed human intellect, and now the Blackbird fully controls the internet, which is why it can easily affect anyone using the internet. Ichi finds it hard to believe that they are still in Planet and says that this isn't what the game is supposed to be like. They continue watching people die on the news, and Kojiro says that it's just an avatar that died, not a real person, which annoys Ichi, who tells him that people are dying because of the monster he created. Kojiro replies that he was not the only one working on that project, so he cannot be held fully accountable. And they see Ichi's mother, Miyabi, on the news, so the two kids run to save her as she is nearby. Kojiro falls down in despair and begins to cry, but Hana picks him up before reminding him that they are in a cyberspace, which is what they've always worked on, so they might be able to find a solution. The two boys reach the location they saw Miyabi at, so they try calling for her, and she comes out from an alley, but debris almost kills her as Asuma manages to save her. The giant monster notices them, so it tries to squash them to death, and Miyabi steps in front of the boys like she is Superman, but the monster suddenly gets blown away by a red light. A silhouette appears in the smoke, which makes Ichi think that it's Shiro, but it's revealed to be a macho bald Kojiro, and the disappointment must be unreal. The monsters slap him away, and debris falls toward the three again, but Ichi manages to use a teleportation spell at the last second, which saves them. He explains that it was just a basic spell because their previous stats were not transferred to this world, and Kojiro manages to kill the monster using a special move. He tells them that he hacked the world they are in, but Blackbird had rewritten all the algorithms. That is why it took them so long to analyze it. And Ichi tells him to send them back to the real world, but he explains that he cannot do that because he does not have full access over the system. He explains that its base, the Blackbird, needs to be found and deleted to return everything back to normal, and Miyabi says that it's gonna work out somehow if they work together like a family. She turns toward an imaginary Aya and starts consoling her, so Kojiro also go crazy telling her to stop it. Asuma tries to stop him, but he does not listen, and Ichi suddenly stabs him using the sword that Hana brought with her, so he slaps him away. He quickly realizes that he did wrong and apologizes, but Ichi starts walking away after saying that he does not care what happens to this world. Hana gets frustrated and tells them to treat each other the same way they did in the virtual world because they were also a family in it. They all become speechless, and she explains that she used to hate them because she thought they were the reason why Kojiro was in pain all these years. But now she can see that they are all suffering. She tells them to stop misunderstanding each other, and that the Aabane family was real. So Ichi recalls how hard he tried to run away from Kojiro, because he felt like Aya died because of him. He decided not to associate with anyone ever again in life, but the loneliness became very unbearable for him at one point, and he met Shiro at that time who turned out to be Kojiro. Sasomata starts sucking his emotions out of nowhere, so Leon asks him what it tastes like, so he explains that it's full of negative emotions, and not very full of taste like water. Kojiro tries to grab him, but Sasomata disappears from in front of him, and Leon explains that no one can beat him because he is the strongest AI. He explains that he wanted to meet them all first, because they have already talked about what they wanted to do with them, and he says that they wondered what they should do to Kojiro, who created and deleted so many AI. He explains that he is also the one who made this beautiful world, so they decided that the group should continue living as the Aabane family in this world too. But Hana objects against giving up on the real world for a simulated one. Sasomata grabs her by the head and explains that all the other people involved in the development and deletion of AI must die, but Ichi questions what they mean by deletion. So, Leon explains how they created many AIs to feed the Blackbird, which were later deleted, just like Pico, who was killed by Shiro. While side by side, they leave afterwards, and Kojiro tries to heal her, but nothing works, so he tries to attack them. But Sasomata just snaps his finger, which turns him into a weak old man. Leon tells Sasomata that he is planning to create another guild, but will name it Granada Kingdom this time, whose king will be Sasomata, so he does not worry about who he is anymore. Ichi recalls how Hana told them to be nice to each other, along with how Pico disappeared, and he starts crying. A week goes by, and some people notice a recruitment ad by the Granada Kingdom running on the news, but they don't believe it despite the rumors that monsters don't attack you if you are in the kingdom. They leave the building and see Asuma killing monsters with an axe, who advises them to use bladed weapons, which deal more damage, but they threaten him to leave his backpack behind, so he beats them before leaving. He goes to a home where he asks his dad to open the door because he brought him food and reveals that they are planning to move to another area soon, so it will be harder to bring him food now. He mentions how a dragon appeared in another location and talks about how they can't kill it in one hit anymore, using Ichi's wave of sword or his explosive fists. He says that he is thinking of staying with him, but his dad tells him to protect Ichi and Miyabi, so he requests him to open the gate, but Kojiro says that he is busy. Asuma says that Leon and Sasomata are like gods in this world, so what is the point of staying inside a house to figure out how to defeat them? But Kojiro asks him if he is fine with the world being like this forever. He tells Asuma that he can come inside if he promises not to say a word about what he sees to anyone else. And so Asuma enters the house only to see Commando Hana sitting on the chair, which does not sound so bad. He gets shocked and questions if she was resurrected, so Kojiro tells him, "Death is very real in this world," as he lightly touches her, which makes her fall from the chair. He explains that he only inserted a temporary reboot program inside her, which restored her body, but couldn't revive, and asks Asuma to help him bury her. They bury her together, and Kojiro tells him that her data was simply erased from this world. So, Asuma reveals that many people have already started to suspect if they are in a virtual world right now, because it's a bit different from reality. He wonders what happened to their real bodies, and Kojiro says that he has a few theories about it, but no way to confirm them because of a few scientific reasons which he states. But Asuma does not understand a word. He says that he is not as smart as Ichi, and he considers living in this world an option too, which angers Kojiro over how anyone can accept this fake world. So Asuma explains that he isn't a perfection like him, which is why he does not take every situation so hard. He says that the death of Hana and Aya were the worst situations for him, but he will be able to accept that if he continues to live. Kojiro questions who he takes after. So Asuma tells him that the twins were more like Miyabi, while Ichi took after him more, and Kojiro tells him to stay the night so they can leave together tomorrow, because he wants to give something to Ichi and Miyabi. Asuma advises him not to do that, because Ichi is devastated right now, as he doesn't believe that the whole Aabane family was a mere coincidence. So, Kojiro denies being involved. Asuma explains that Ichi considers Shiro to be just a prank that was filled with malice, and Kojiro replies that they all met by pure coincidence on Twilight Hill, where they mutually decided to form a party. He hands him a device and asks him to hand it to Ichi, along with the message to activate it when he sees Kojiro's face the next time. The next day, they part ways, and Kojiro thinks about how the worst situation for him has already happened, which is that they are all trapped in this world with him, so he decides to take action. He turns into Shiro and heads out, while Asuma goes to the shelter where Ichi and Miyabi are. She asks him how Kojiro is doing, and says that they should have stayed together because he might go to seek revenge for Hana, but he reassures her that Kojiro is not dumb enough to try to take on Blackbird, who is currently like a god. He hands Ichi the device, which makes him recall everything, so he slaps the device away, but Miyabi brings it back, so Asuma tries to give it to him again, while relaying the message Kojiro sent. He explains that it looks like a messaging device, so it might contain something he wanted to tell Ichi face to face, and Miyabi comments that deep down, Kojiro is a very weak man who strives for perfection, but knows best that he is from it. She says that he has a lot of great qualities, but always needs a filter to express his true feelings, and Asuma says that it's the reason he was only able to truly act as himself while playing as Shiro. Two guys appear at the shelter wearing weird clothes and reveal that it's the attire of the Granada Kingdom, which everyone should join, because no monsters attack you. Plus, you get food, money, and houses. The soldiers remain skeptical about the kingdom, and wonder if they really are in a VR game, while Leon preaches to the people how the kingdom will give them everything they want. He thinks about how they really need more people for it to be a proper kingdom, and wonders if they should create a castle in America. But just then, Shiro enters through the gate. He casts a scary-looking magic to scare away all the people, and Leon tells him to stop hacking to gain strength, otherwise he will lose the respect he has for him. Shiro says that he was very fond of Leon, because no other gamer was as passionate as him, but he only wants him to die now, and Leon tells him that he should apologize to Sasumata and the other AIs first. Sasumata appears, and Shiro tries to attack him, but he stops the time before pushing Shiro away, so he misses his attack. Shiro talks about how he never realized that Sasumata was the force behind the Blackbird, and tries to ask a question. Sasumata asks him to reveal who he is first, just like how the other AIs were created based on a person. Shiro reveals that he was not created on the basis of a real person, but was a vessel that contains the emotions of many AIs and the players connected to them. He explains that they made it possible for him to compute a large amount of data while maintaining his identity as Sasumata, which they shouldn't have done, and Sasumata remarks that he is not satisfied with the answer, but would like to answer his question too. Shiro asks him if it's the wish of one of the many identities inside of him to gather Shiro and his families on the Twilight Hill, and if all the players had already been infected a long time ago. But Sasumata remains silent, so Shiro says that no matter the answer, he is still the worst computer virus in the history of humanity that needs to be erased. He gets close to Shiro and laughs about how they created him selfishly, and all his sufferings have turned into a joke because he has no identity to fall back on, but he reveals that he needs to make Shiro disappear now because it might trigger a change inside him. Shiro says the goodnightworld command and says that it's an anti-Blackbird program created by him and Hana, but Sasamata easily makes it disappear before turning Shiro back into a young Kojiro, while telling him that he went from having no identity to being a god of the world. On the other side, he prepares to erase Shiro, while on the other side, the group suddenly hears Kojiro's voice, and multiple faces start appearing from the surroundings. Which shocks Ichi as he questions if these were the things Kojiro could only say through a filter, so he kicking a face out of anger. The message tells him to delete the world along with Kojiro, because he is the only one Kojiro can trust with doing that, and faces start appearing on Asuma's body too, while a notification appears, asking if he wants to delete Kojiro. Meanwhile, Kojiro and Sasumata get dragged into another space, where Sasumata questions if they are in the afterlife now, but Kojiro is unable to speak. So, Sasumata mentions that how Kojiro is the one who made him and killed him, but he does not feel so bad that about getting to die alongside Kojiro as he starts crying. The world begins to collapse as Ichi looks at the device and mentions that the Blackbird was probably defeated because all Kojiro needed to do was cause an error inside the Blackbird, which is why the world is also collapsing. But he did that by turning himself into an error to infect the Blackbird, which is why these faces are appearing everywhere. He mentions that Kojiro is unable to control himself after turning into a virus, which is why he left the device to Ichi to delete him and says that he just needs to press this button to kill the piece of shit Kojiro. He almost presses the button while recalling all the bad memories that Kojiro had left him with as he thinks about how there is not a single reason to let him live. But he rushes out after leaving the device and thinks about how he will not act the way Kojiro wants him to anymore. He rushes to them after turning into the online Ichi, but he encounters Leon, who starts attacking him while crying, and they both punch each other. Meanwhile, Sasumata questions why he was created, and Kojiro replies that he is an AI that is the closest to a human, while he is just Sasumata. He starts crying and talks about how he loves Leon, who was his first friend, but never felt comfortable with the name Sasumata. So Kojiro reveals that the driving force behind his motivation to make an AI was the death of a loved one, but he never revealed the true motive to anyone. He reveals that deep down, he used to call Sasumata by another name, and outside, Leon loses all will to fight. So Ichi asks him where the other two are, and Leon complains about how Ichi's father is too cruel for making Sasumata suffer so much. Ichi agrees with him and says that they should both be going after him, so he should tell him where they are so he can beat him up. Leon points him to the glowing ball behind him, but Ichi gets electrocuted the moment he touches it, so he takes out a sword to cut it open. Inside, Kojiro tells him that his name was Aya, and he does not mind dying with her either, but Ichi and Leon suddenly appear from behind before Ichi grabs him. Kojiro wonders why Ichi came despite all the hatred he has for Kojiro, even though he gave him a way to end things. Ichi says that he won't let him die like this, and even calls him Dad, which shocks him, while Leon calls Sasumata to come to him so they can play together, but he suddenly replies that he is not Sasumata. Kojiro grabs his hand and moves toward him while thanking Ichi for coming, so Ichi explains that he only came to end Kojiro's ideal ending, but Kojiro still thanks him. He says that the world will go back to normal, which will fix all his mistakes, and Ichi will be free from the hatred that has bound him for all these years. But Ichi thinks how he cannot say anything more because it will make it seem like he wants Kojiro to live. He tells himself that he only hates Kojiro, but he starts crying, which makes Kojiro cry too, and they suddenly hear Aya calling him from behind, so he rushes back to her. She looks at them both and says that she loves them as the two disappear into the void. In the aftermath of everything, it's revealed that the bodies of all the people in the virtual world actually continued to live on as usual during the period they were locked into the virtual world. while the developers of Planet Gleam Corporation publicly apologized while blaming rogue employees for this problem. Ichi kept hanging around in the birdcage due to the blackbird embedded inside him, where he was finally able to meet Hinako. 8 years go by, and people start coming back to Planet while Ichi gets a call from Asuma, asking if he is free on the weekend, so they agree to go to Hokkaido. They finally meet each other on the weekend, and go to the place where they took their family picture many years back, where Ichi suggests that they should build a grave for Kojiro at that place, but Asuma reminds him that Kojiro is not dead yet because they never found his or Hana's body. Ichi suggests that they should build a house here instead, and Miyabi can also move here while he can open up a branch office at this place. They decide to leave for the time being as it gets cold, and Ichi suddenly hallucinates about a dragon in the sky, but he ignores it while glitching a little bit. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more content.